Hey, what's up, guys? Adam Lunt back at you here. Going to take a look at a few more plays from Mason Rudolph. In the first video, we looked at some areas where Rudolph really struggles, mainly processing coverage post snap. In this video, I have a few examples of where Rudolph does a really nice job of understanding the coverage and making quick decisions. Of the four plays I've kind of selected here, two of the plays will be a situation where he's reading three different routes in more of a full field situation. These aren't a lot of There aren't a lot of examples in the Oklahoma State offense by design, but there are a few that I've kind of picked out. There are two plays of examples of half field reads as well. So basically, two full field reads, two half field reads, which the half field reads are really the foundation of the Oklahoma State offense in general, and ultimately where Mason Rudolph is most comfortable at this point in his career. So let's kick it off with play number one. Just a little bit of information on the play. This is 3rd and 6 versus Texas in 2016. This is one of Mason Rudolph's best games of his career, in my opinion. Really played well in this game. Was very comfortable as well. 5 wide look with 2 wide receivers to his left and 3 wide receivers to his right. Right at the time of the snap here, you can see that this safety here, number 18. Drops back significantly towards he kind of drops back into a deep safety look. So you're going to have man across the board here versus this safety. So let's run this a little bit, about 2 seconds in. So as you can see here, he starts left with his eyes, and unfortunately this kind of causes him to miss this coverage bus, where this is James Washington right here in the middle of the field. He's wide open, so unfortunately his progression ultimately causes him to miss this particular play. But regardless, as the play progresses, you can see him work his way from the left side of the field all the way to the middle to the right. And I'll play that a little bit here for you. So here's the middle. And ultimately, you can see him make his way towards the right side of the field here. So I think it's important to remember he makes a very quick decision once he looks to the right side. The rush was getting to him and needed to be decisive. He makes a nice throw here under some pressure, with kind of pressure right in his face, actually. So it's a little high, but very catchable. Nice play by Rudolph, working his way through 3 progressions from the left to the right side with pressure in his face. Moving on to the next play, play number 2. This play is from the bowl game 2017, 3rd and 9 versus Virginia Tech. Pre-snap, you can see the DBs here really locked in on man coverage. This was Virginia Tech showed man looks in this game quite a bit. You can't see it because it's outside of the frame, but Marcel Aitman is at the top of your screen up here. This isn't a full flood concept where you're basically flooding 3 receivers in a one side of the field, but it's close, where you're going to see a 3-level read here on the left side. Aitman, who you can't see, is on a vertical route. Dylan Stoner, which is this slot receiver right here, is going to run a shallow crossing route, and then Britton Abbott out of the backfield is the Cowboy back, is going to slip out of the backfield and run a dig route right at about 3rd and 9, or I'm sorry, right about the 9-yard mark. So let's run this about 1 or 2 seconds. So as you can see, right off of the snap, he actually has already moved off from left. It was the primary read. He's actually already moved off of that because there was a high safety here, tight man coverage, so we've moved on. And as you can see, right off this, now he's facing a high safety man coverage, quickly and correctly identifies that as a bad option, comes off and eyes Stoner on the crosser for the secondary option. As you can see, he's well covered here. There's a potential for maybe a short game, but not on 3rd down. And then he's able to find Abbott, who's coming in on this dig route. Nice example of a 3 progression read here. Nice throw for about a 17, 18-yard gain, and a nice play by Rudolph there. So moving on to play number 3. This is 3rd and 11 versus Tulsa in 2017. This is a good example of an excellent read/eye manipulation by Mason Rudolph on a half-field read play. OSU is facing a deep zone coverage look here from Tulsa. For this play, we only really need to focus on the left side of the field. This is going to be a combination route by Marcel Aitman and Dylan Stoner, with Justice Hill flaring out of the flat as well. So what you're going to see is both receivers will start inside initially. So they're going to come in inside about 2 or 3 yards before flattening out their route more vertically up the field. Stoner's ultimately going to run about an 8 to 10 yard dig, so he's going to come inside, come flatten out, and then run a dig. And then Aitman is going to come in inside, flatten out, and then run a hitch right around the sticks on the first down line. So let's run it a little bit. So you can see inside, flatten out. So what we're looking at here is Rudolph really needs to keep his eyes on Stoner as long as possible to hold this linebacker right here. This is the key defender. Rudolph, and I'll fast forward a little bit here for you just to see. You can see clearly his eyes are on Stoner, and this linebacker is locked in on Rudolph to figure out where he's going. As you can see, Rudolph comes off of Stoner once the linebacker opens his hips up towards the middle. So this linebacker opens up, is totally facing Stoner, doesn't even see Aitman, and then Rudolph correctly and quickly actually is already in his throwing motion here, which is really nice. This is a rare thing I've seen from him, with really quick decision making. Once he opens up, he's already in his throwing motion, rips a nice ball to Aitman for a first down. So nice example of a half-field read and really quick decision-making by Rudolph there. So this is play number 4. This is probably my favorite play of all of the ones that we're looking at today. This is 1st down and 10 versus West Virginia here in 2017. You have an unbalanced line here with 3 offensive linemen to the left of the center, 1 offensive lineman to the right, and the Cowboy back aligned where normally the right tackle is, generally in a normal formation. This is another example of a half-field read as Rudolph never even looks to the left side of the formation the entire play. This will be a combo route with the Cowboy back who is in line on the right side, and James Washington, who's the lone receiver to the right. So let's run this a little bit so you can get an idea of what the route concept looks like. Okay, so you can kind of see this play forming. The Cowboy back hits the flat. You can clearly see this defender here is responsible. I'm circling on my cursor. Is responsible for the flat, and he's still very deep in the coverage. I mean, normally you would see him a little bit closer. It's pretty obvious that he doesn't necessarily want to primarily cover this area. So this effectively becomes a game of who's going to commit first. At this point, you can see Rudolph is eyeing, even though his shoulders are faced upfield, you can see his head is actually facing the flat. It's actually facing both receivers because they're kind of in his line of sight at this point. So let's run it a little bit further. So as you can see, Rudolph actually moves his eyes to Washington. The DB still isn't committing to the flat, so that means Rudolph's eyes come back to Washington, which is probably the primary read on this particular play. Let's run it a little bit more. Once the DB reads the QB coming back to Washington, you can see him trying to get more depth right here. He's actually heading upfield to get more depth on the slant, leaving the flat wide open. Rudolph quickly comes back to the flat and hits the Cowboy back for an easy gain. So you can see here he was faced the Cowboy back, came back to Washington. The DB moves upfield, and then Rudolph quickly comes back to the flat and then gets a nice gain here. So just to recap there, we had Rudolph eyeing in on the flat, came to the slant, and then came back to the flat. I think my favorite part about this is Rudolph not only used his eyes, but actually shifts his entire body to sell the manipulation. So, eyes and shoulders. Excellent work to move the defender with your eyes and shoulders there, taking the open play that is available to you, not forcing the slant there. That was play number 4. These are some good examples of Rudolph being able to up to the task to identify coverage and making quick decisions. I think as an NFL GM who's evaluating Rudolph has the potential, as a potential draft option, you certainly are aware of his lack of experience with full field reads. I mean, that's very apparent in the film and digesting a lot of complex different coverages. But these are the plays that give you a lot of hope that he has the ability to come in and lean on those concepts and be able to learn quickly. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take care.